And we are going to start laying down on our backs today. So you can come into classic Shavasana, legs extended, arms by your side, palms facing up. The lower back can feel a little tender doing that. So you might want to bend your knees, take your feet as wide as your mat, and then just allow your knees to knock in towards each other. So just feeling a little release. And maybe you kind of press down into your hands, lift your hips up, direct the tailbone forward. And then maybe snuggle those shoulder blades underneath you a little bit so you're getting that opening across your heart and chest, that nice gentle lift. And then find a good inhale here. And then a full, complete exhale through your nose, sighing the breath out, sighing the weekend out. Starting to land on your mat, starting to pay attention to how things are feeling today. Do that a few more times. Some days one isn't enough. And as you do this, you're triggering this idea that you are going to start to pay attention to your body, to your breath. Good, and then you're going to eventually start to find that rhythm of your Ujjayi breath, that inhale through your nose, that exhale through your nose, creating that soft rush of air in the back of your throat. So you're constricting the throat a little bit. There's a little effort. There's definitely a little sound. You don't need to overdo it. Really trying to even the inhale and the exhale out. Sometimes it's helpful to count the breath, starting this out. So inhaling to 5 or 6. And then exhaling to that same number. And then bringing a lot of awareness to your body. So even though we're just laying here and it seems like that's pretty simple, we start to grip and hold on and work in places that we don't need to. And maybe there's some places in our body that need to be involved, but that aren't. And then there's those places that feel good. So noticing all of these things. And just taking a moment here, being nice and still. Take a deep inhale. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go. Ha. And then if your legs are extended to straight, give them a nice gentle squeeze into your chest. If your feet are on the floor, your knees are already bent, just heel toe your feet so they're about hips distance apart. And just a little vinyasa here, moving with the breath. So feel the arches in your feet engage. Feel your lower belly pull in and up. Shoulder blades are pressing back into the mat. And we start to move here. Inhale, tiny lift. You're directing your tailbone forward. As you exhale, you're lowering down and you're keeping your gaze up in this pose. So we don't want to look side to side. I, of course, am doing it. That is expected of me since I'm leading this Zoom party. It's hard on the neck though. And you're just warming everything up here. And again, it can be this really gentle movement. We're just starting to hook up breath with movement. We're starting to get a little more present inside of our bodies. Notice if you're rolling to the outer edges of your feet. Roll a little more to the inner edge. Feel that inner thigh release down. Let's take a couple more rounds here like this. If you'd like to add your arms into the mix to start to warm up the shoulder girdle, as you inhale, press into your feet. Stretch arms up and over any amount. Get really long. As you exhale, release hands by side, hips down. See if you can get pinkies and sit bones to touch at the same time. Inhaling, lifting up. Exhaling, lowering down. Good, inhale up. Exhale, lower. Couple more, inhaling up. Exhale, lower down. And then this time we're gonna inhale up. Hold here. As you exhale, release your hands by your side. Grab the outer edges of your mat. Walk your hands towards your heels. You might interlace fingers underneath you, dragging knuckles towards heels. And then you can snuggle those shoulders underneath your body a little more. So you're gonna get a little more lift of that sternum. And then put your brain in your feet. You can't see them. Usually what happens here is we start to turn our toes out. So explore if you know what's happening in your feet. And you might not. This is a hard pose to find that in, but just playing with that idea. Listening to your breath, that soft rush of air in the back of your throat. Good. Deep inhale. So if you have your hands interlaced underneath you, go ahead and just release your sit bones down onto your wrists. It's just kind of a nice little stretch. So we'll just take a couple of breaths here. If you're just holding on to the edge of the mat, you can go ahead and just lower all the way down. Squeeze your knees into your chest. If you have your hands underneath you and you're getting a little weight there, you can kind of rock a little bit side to side. It's like a little massage. And then lift up a little bit, release, gentle squeeze of knees into your chest. Let's all come into a nice, gentle, happy baby here. So you're grabbing the outer edges, the pinky side of the foot, and then gently pulling down. So taking the knees out nice and wide. Sometimes this just isn't in the cards. So a great variation is to pull down on your thighs. Spread across the backs of your shoulders. There's gonna be a little arch in your lumbar. So it's flattening a bit, but there's still a little space that you could slide a pencil underneath. Good, couple more breaths. Expand on that inhale. Notice how good that feels. And then we're gonna exhale here, release legs. And then you have your strap, so you're gonna grab that, have it off to your right side. You can unfurl it first. Keep pressing into that left foot, bend your right knee in, and then you're gonna take the strap around the sole of your foot. So it goes on the part of the foot, so not the bridge, not the arch, in between. So split that distance there. Take one strap in each hand. Come down far enough on your strap so that both shoulder blades can be pressing into the mat. And then take a couple of breaths here. You're trying to really lengthen on that right side of your waist. I'm gonna do the other side so you can see that. So it's like you're drawing that right hip forward. You might even just take your right thumb there, gently press forward. So that's the action that we're going for. We're gonna hold this a few breaths. If you would like to start to extend forward through that left leg, you're welcome to do so. Keep it really active. Imagine that you're standing on it. So you're pressing into the center of the heel. Your toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. Looks good, Neil. And then taking both straps into your right hand, place your left hand on top of your left thigh. You are reminding that leg to stay active. You're reminding the backside of your body to keep pressing down. Very slowly, start to extend that right leg off to the right. And you don't have to go super far. We're going to hold this for about 7 or 8 breaths. So nice, long hold. Noticing how things are feeling. Sometimes it feels nice to slide a block underneath that right thigh if you need a little support. And come back to that rhythm of your breath if you've lost it at all. That inhale through your nose, that exhale through your nose. I'm doing a different pose than you guys. I'm a little sleepy today. Yoga always helps that. All right, so we inhale, come up to center. Take both straps into your left hand. Right arm comes out in a T shape. And we start to make our way into the twist. You're gonna get this beautiful stretch through the sciatic. You might not have to go very far at all before you're feeling it. So you just stay there. A couple of us might be able to start to stack hips on top of each other. So that right hip plate is lifting up off the mat. And then you're welcome to gaze up at the ceiling, out over your right fingertips. You can still keep that left foot really active, even though it's rolled onto its side. So a nice deep twist, really healthy for our spine. Intense though. So our little utthita padangusthasa series. It's a mouthful. As you inhale, come back up to center, and then tiny little movement. So back side of the body keeps pressing evenly. You're gonna bring this right toe towards your left shoulder head. So you're just going back diagonal. And it's a really intense little stretch. So keep breathing. Send your exhale to the glute, the hamstring. I'm getting a nice little stretch behind the knee. You might even need to take a little bend in your knee. Really listening to what your body needs. And then come back to center, start to bend that right knee, bend your left knee. Notice how you feel on that right side of your body. You might feel a little taller, a little longer. I'm gonna even you out. So left knee comes into chest, take the strap over your foot. So again, that middle place, not the bridge, not the arch, but in between. One strap in each hand, start to extend that left leg to straight. And let's take both straps into the right hand. Press your thumb into that hip crease, left hip crease, gently draw forward. And then of course the key is to hold on to that as you remove your thumb. So you have to engage those muscles that maybe don't get used a lot, or muscles that can be really tight as well. Notice if your shoulder blades have started to curl up off the mat, release them down. That might mean that you come down further on your strap. There's no shame in that. These props are really wonderful tools. If you would like to extend forward through that right leg, do so. Imagine that you're standing on it. So it's really active. You can feel this inner thigh spin down towards the mat internally. And then taking both straps into the left hand, right palm on right thigh, you're reminding that leg to stay active. Start to extend left leg off to the left. So if this right sit bone, hip plate starts to pop up, you've gone too far. So you just back out a little bit. And our body gives us good feedback on that. So listen to it. As we hold the pose, perhaps you can start to move in a little deeper. Perhaps you move out a little. So both good options. Couple more breaths. And then inhale, come up to center, both straps into your right hand, left arm out in a T shape. Ooh, start to extend that left leg to the right. So coming into the twist, hips might start to stack on top of each other. You might be up here. They're all really terrific places. This side might feel incredibly different than the other side. So you're becoming aware of that. You're not trying to force it to look the same. So a lot of our yoga practice is just accepting where we are in our bodies. Simply enjoying that we are able to move them, to breathe, to stretch, to build strength. As you inhale, you come on up. And then that tiny movement, this time left big toe, right shoulder, flex that right foot. Send the breath to the back of this left thigh, especially that exhale. Just visualize it creating a little space. You can take a little bend in your knee if this is really intense. Good. Next inhale, come back to center. Start to bend that knee. Hug both knees in. And then start to roll forward and back on your spine, assuming that that feels okay to do in your body. If it doesn't, you just roll off to one side or the other. And then we're going to eventually roll all the way up to our tabletop. And we're going to start moving the back in this direction. So kind of the opposite of our bridge. Spine's doing the same thing, except for we're facing down towards the mat. So as you're ready, make sure that your fingertips are spreading, shoulders over wrists, knees under hips, and we start to move here. Inhaling, arching that deep bend in the lumbar. Exhale, let the back of the neck lengthen and release. Press the mat away with your hands. Inhaling, arching. Exhaling, rounding. If your eyes aren't closed here, it's really nice to do. So sometimes when the eyes are open, we start to look around. We get distracted. We start to think about things. Whereas with the eyes closed, we're kind of blocking all of that outward stimulus, bringing our attention to our physical shape and to how things are feeling. Couple more rounds. All right, so as you inhale, you're gonna come back to neutral spine. Shoulders over wrists, knees underneath your hips. Go ahead and walk your hands a little further forward. Spread your fingers, and I want you to shift your shoulders over your wrists, but keep your belly lifted. So we're gonna do about 5 little mini chaturangas just to prove that they are very challenging. So your gaze is gonna stay forward, your neck is gonna stay long. As you exhale, the only thing that changes here is that you bend your elbows an inch, maybe 2. You go no further than shoulders in line with elbows. Inhale, engage your belly, press up. Exhale, lower any amount. Inhale up. Exhale, lower. You might get cracks in your elbows and joints like I am. Inhale, press up. Good. Exhale, lower. We'll see how good these mics are. Picks that up. Inhaling, pressing up. I think that was 4. Exhale, lower halfway. Inhale, press up, curl your toes under. Stretch your sit bones up towards the ceiling. Come up onto your tippy toes. Try to spread your feet. Lift your heels up off the mat. So we're getting so much length through the front of the body. Your gaze should be between your feet. You're checking to see that they're about hips distance apart with the second toe pointing forward. And then staying on your tippy toes like this, we're going to start to shift our heels to the right and then place your feet down. And the knees might be a little bit bent, but you're trying to bring them to straight. So you're pressing to the inner edge of your right foot, the outer edge of your left foot. You can look up underneath that right arm. Or you can just let your head dangle too. It kind of depends on how it's feeling. All right, come back up to tippy toes, cracks in the toes. Square your hips, bend in the knees, and then shift your hips to the left, shift your feet, your heels to the left, and then place them down. Straighten the knees as much as possible. Press to the inner edge of that left foot, the outer edge of the right foot, maybe looking up underneath that left arm. A funky little dog. Some dogs just have extra personality. We all know that dog. All right, as you inhale, come up to your tippy toes, bend the knees, square the hips. Oh, nice and slow, melt both heels back. Peek between your hands. Are you still spreading your fingers and pressing evenly? As you do that, you're going to notice how the upper arms turn on. So they begin to work a little more. And then you're going to walk your hands back to meet your feet. Cross your forearms, so grab onto elbows, and then take a beautiful little forward fold here. So this first forward fold of the day, always really nice to have a little bend in the knees. That will help you to just lay your belly down over your thighs a little more. Of course, if you're a little more flexible, you can begin to straighten your legs. The neck likes to grip here. I want you to pretend that there's a weight on the top of your head, helping you stretch towards the earth any amount. Nice. And then go ahead and nod your head yes here. And then change the cross of your arms so the opposite arm comes in front. Are you still breathing? Have you lost that thread of your Ujjayi breath? Inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your nose. You might be stretching it out a little bit in this forward fold. Start to nod your head no. And then releasing your fingertips to the mat with that bend in your knees. Pull your belly in and up. It's like you're pulling it up towards your nose. Hold on to that sensation. As slow as you can go, start to roll up. So you're stacking your vertebrae on top of each other. Head is the last thing to come up. And when you come to standing, just release palms to face forward. So you're getting this openness, this lift across your heart. We have this sensation in so many of our poses. This is probably why we get so happy when we start to flow. This little back bend is very uplifting. And we're going to start to flow. So as you inhale, arms reach out and up, take up space. As you exhale, lengthen forward. You could have a bend in your knees here. Really let the back of the neck release down. As you inhale, you take fingertips to the floor, or better still, hands on shins or thighs. Chest extends forward, gaze comes forward, a little L shape in your body. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, root down to rise up. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart. Inhaling, reaching utthita, hastasana into dasana. How big can you get in these sun salutes today? As you exhale, fold in. Inhale, lengthen into your Ardha Uttanasana. Shoulder heads press back, inner thighs roll back. As you exhale, fold back into your full forward fold. Inhale, root down into your feet. Take up lots of space. As you reach towards the sky, maybe gaze up, press palms this time. Exhaling, hands come together at your heart. Inhaling, reaching, finding this sense of fluidity and grace in your body. Exhaling, you're folding in. Inhale, lengthen forward. Exhaling, folding. Inhale, press down to rise up. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart. Inhaling, reaching. And you're off. We have 2 more of these. Exhale, fold. We're just going to move with the breath here. Eyes might be closed. When you're done with that second round, palms together at your heart, standing in Tadasana. Noticing how you're shifting already, how the body's feeling differently, building a little heat. Heart might be beating slightly faster. So these are the physical things that start to happen as we move. They're good things. Start to root down into that left foot. Outer hips squeeze in towards each other. Lower belly is pulling in and up. We're going to start to bend that right knee, and you're going to interlace your fingers underneath your thigh. Press the shoulder heads back. You might be able to interlace fingers around the shin. So both good places to be. And if neither of those are happening, you could use your strap to help you be here. So nice little tool. And the shoulders do love to dip forward here. Press them back. Notice the micro movements happening in that standing foot. You could be holding on to a table or a wall here if you need to. This is certainly challenging. And actually, let's all hold on with our right hand wherever you're at. Take that left hand out just for a little counterbalance. Squeeze this left hip in. Start to open your right hip up any amount. So we've already done this today on the floor with our strap. Certainly much more challenging when we're standing. So have you started clenching all of the muscles in your face? Soften. Have you started saying mean things to yourself about what this pose looks like or how it's not working? Stop. It's just yoga. Come back to center. And then you're going to hold on with your left hand. So shin or thigh. And then start to extend that right shoulder behind you. And if you're feeling very adventurous, you begin to bring your gaze out over that right thumb. You might fall right out of this pose. Doesn't matter. This is how we get good at them. So we really need to think of yoga as this playground. We're exploring the physical shape of our bodies. We're building strength. We're learning new things. And it's fun. As you exhale, come back to center. Ah. Okay, keep that knee bent. Stretch your arms up. Oh, things are screaming, I know. One more deep inhale. Exhale, sigh of release. And then a sigh of release, I said, it's actually sigh of relief, but it's the same thing. You know what I mean. Pedal back and forth between your feet. And then we're going to come into our second side. So be prepared that this side might feel a lot different. It's all good. So first and foremost, roots in the bottom of that right foot, reaching deep into the earth, squeezing this hip in, and then pulling the belly in and up. And we try to hold on to all of those sensations as we bend our left knee. Notice if you start to dump forward, press your shoulder heads back. You can interlace fingers underneath your thigh or your shin. And then just taking a few breaths here like this. Appreciating all of the work that that standing foot is doing. And just knowing too that this is such a fantastic foot strengthener. Anytime we come into these standing balance poses, we're really strengthening the feet, the legs. I think they're mentally strengthening as well. Okay. So take that right arm out as a counterbalance. You're holding on to the left leg with the left hand. Start to open up. So this is kind of like a tree pose here. It's moving in that direction. All we would have to do is put the sole of that left foot into our thigh. Some nice hip opener. And these longer holds are really challenging. So you are doing a good job. Inhale, come back to center. Hold on with your right hand, either the thigh or the shin, and then start to reach those left fingertips behind you. Maybe you start to bring your gaze out over that left thumb. Your shoulder heads are pressing back, so you still have that openness and lift across your heart. Deep inhale. Exhale. Come back to center. Here we go. Few breaths. Stretch the arms out. Squeeze everything into the midline. Maybe try to smile a little bit, even though it's awful. You can curse if you need to. You're all on mute. And then as you exhale, release down. Release your hands by your side. Just pedal the feet out. Everything is going to be easy after that. That's intense. Okay, so let's flow a little more here. So you're at the top of your mat. Feet about hips distance apart. You are certainly welcome to have your feet closer together if you feel steady doing that. Again, just make sure that the second toe is pointing forward. That's a nice alignment point. As we inhale, knees bend, arms reach up, utthita, chair pose. Few breaths here. So you can take your arms as wide as you need to so that shoulders, or elbows rather, can come to straight. So shoulders can be really tight here. So this is a nice adjustment. Are you gripping your toes? No need to, because most of the weight is in the heels in this pose. And then start to sink a little deeper, just for a breath. Maybe gaze up, maybe press palms. As you exhale, you hinge forward, fold in here. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. As you exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, right foot back, then left foot back. And let's hold here in plank for a few breaths. So activate the legs, press back through the heels. Feel the top of the thigh firm up towards the ceiling. Make sure you're not lifting your buns too high or dipping down into the lumbar. You're in that in-between space. And then gaze an inch or two in front of your fingertips so the neck is nice and long. So options here. We've already done that knee chaturanga. You can take that again if you want to do your full chaturanga. Let's all slowly move down to the mat. And then just warm up this back bend real quick. As you inhale, low cobra. Exhale, lower down. So you have a deep bend in your elbows here. You're generating this movement from your lower back. So you don't even need to use your hands here. As you press into the outer edges of the feet, you might even lift your hands up off the mat a little bit. Squeeze the elbows into the midline. Good, inhaling up. Take your hands back down to the mat if you lifted them up. You're welcome to stay here. If you're ready for an up dog, hands drag back a lot. Ankles, wrists underneath your elbows as you inhale. Press into your hands, press into the tops of your feet. Upward dog. So legs still really active here. That's going to offer a lot of support to the lower back. If you come into this pose and it doesn't feel good, you come back down. So some days it's nice, some days it's just not in the cards. Roll over your toes if you're an up dog. Use your hips, use your belly to pull you back down, dog. If you are in your low cobra, you press to your tabletop. And then come to your downward dog. Deep inhale through the nose. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go, ha. And let's do that again. Nice deep inhale, let the neck lengthen. Open your mouth, sigh the breath, ha. As you inhale, right leg lifts. So hips stay even, your toes are pointing down. As you exhale, shift shoulders over wrists, curl knee into nose. Gaze slightly forward. Inhale, stretch back, three-legged dog. All right, exhale, shift forward, knee to nose. Keep pressing that right heel closer to your right buttock. See if you can step that foot through. It's a hard move. You might have to pick that foot up and move it over. And then you're gonna spin into the back edge of that left foot. So we're heel to heel here, or a little bit wider. Wider is nice, so you're gonna feel more secure. Deep bend in this right knee. You're drawing that hip back, and then you're sealing into the back edge of that left foot. And let's go ahead and stretch our arms forward. So my belly is lifted up off my thigh a little bit, so I'm using the core. Come about halfway up. Find the back edge of that left foot again. And then all the way up, Virabhadrasana, 1. So we're moving towards dragging this left hip forward. It's super hard to do. And I didn't turn my phone off. I'm off my game today. All right, so you're dragging the left side of your waist forward. Let's press palms, gaze up. You can keep your hands apart as well. As you exhale, hands come to the mat. Spin onto your left toes, and then let's lower here onto that left knee. If you need to pad it up with a blanket, you can do that. You might need to walk that front foot forward a little bit too. We're gonna start to melt this left hip down. Inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your nose. And let's come into a twist. So you have the option to keep this back knee down. You're gonna root down into your left palm. It can be very useful to put that hand on a block if you're a little tighter. Start to roll to the inner edge of this right foot. Spinning open. So your shoulder blades are stacking on top of each other. Maybe you turn to gaze up over that right thumb. Finally, if you would like, you can curl those left toes under. So coming into this full twisting crescent. Nice, Neil. I'm visualizing Ches, Debbie, and Tanya in my head, and I'm pretty sure they're all beautiful poses too. All right, one more deep inhale. As you exhale, you unwind. So palms plant on either side of that front foot. Good, if your left knee is down, you curl your toes under, and we're just gonna step back to our downward facing dog here. Take an inhale through your nose. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go, ha. And we're gonna do that little sequence to the second side. So as you inhale, lift that left leg. As you exhale, shift forward, knee to nose. So gaze slightly forward. We kind of tend to drop our head and look at the knee, but we wanna keep the spine nice and long. Inhale back, three-legged dog. As you exhale, shift forward. Hold here, squeeze that left heel closer to your left buttocks. And then step that foot through. You might have to pick it up and move it. It truly is not an easy thing to do. So walk that left foot off to the left. Spin into the back edge of your right foot, and you're already pressing into the back edge of that foot. You're drawing this left hip back. So engaging your belly. You're gonna stretch your arms forward, so inner arm lining up with your ears. And then come up. Use that leg strength, that core strength, about 45 degrees. Hold here a breath or two. And then come all the way up. Directing the tailbone down, feeling the sternum lift. Arms can be wide here. You're trying to drag the right side of your waist to square to the front of the room. Virabhadrasana 1. Lovely, strong, challenging pose. Maybe you start to bring your gaze up here. Maybe you press palms. As you exhale, hands come to the mat. Spin onto those right toes, and then you're gonna lower onto that knee. Oh, nice hip flexor stretch here. You might need to walk that front foot forward, and if you're a little more flexible, sliding that back knee back is gonna allow you to get a little more stretch. I think if we can get past this idea that these poses have to look a certain way and they need to be perfect, we start to really appreciate how versatile yoga is. It really is adaptable. You can always fix and modify things, change things. If you get creative, you can do this in all kinds of bodies. Okay, so we're gonna find our twist here. You're gonna root down into your right palm. Hand might be on a block. Begin to press to the inner edge of this left foot. So this knee wants to wing out. Squeeze it in. And then start to spin to the left. Shoulder blades stack on top of each other. They might not exactly, they move in that direction. Maybe you curl those right toes under. And then you're playing with the gaze here. So you're listening to your neck. If it feels okay, you look up over that left thumb. And if it doesn't, you just find a place that feels good. That might be looking down. That's absolutely okay. You're breathing, a couple more. Use that exhale to help you empty out and twist in a little deeper. Oh, twists, they're intense. They're so good though. All right, deep inhale. Exhale, unwind. Step back, downward facing dog. So you'll have to curl those left toes under, I believe. No, right toe is good. And then take a deep inhale here through your nose. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out. Ha. And then coming down to your knees, child's pose. So big toes together, knees apart. Start to stretch forward. Resting your head on the floor. If that feels a little tight, you could grab a block or you could stack fists or hands. Trying to slow everything down here. So letting the breath stretch out again. The inhale is getting longer. And the exhale is getting a little longer. And just start to find a twist. So walking your arms off to the right. So you're just laying that belly out over your left thigh. Wrapping left ribs up towards the ceiling. And then begin to walk back to center as you inhale. And then exhale off to the left. Laying out over that left thigh, any amount, just moving in that direction. Spinning ribs up towards the ceiling. See if you can get the right ribs to lift that way as well. Good. Start to walk back to center. Slowly roll on up. And let's come to seated. So coming into our seated staff pose, Dandasana. Have a strap handy just in case. And then it can also be really nice if it's hard for you to sit tall. So a lot of us, we kind of round in the lower back, or we really slouch back. I'm over exaggerating, of course, but it can be hard to sit tall. So the remedy to that is giving yourself a little lift. Just take some of the work out of the inner groin so you can get a little more lift and release, so you can sit a little taller. We're going to take a few breaths here like this. So gaze is just soft and gentle in front of you. And again, just like that padangusthasa pose that we were doing, so we don't want the shoulders to dump forward here. We're pressing them back. And we're going to play with the seated version of that series. So it's going to look a lot different. But we're going to explore and see how it feels different. So you're sitting here, a couple more really good breaths. And in some ways, seated like this, I almost feel the core working more than when I'm in the standing version. So kind of see what you think about that. Notice if that's true for you or not. Okay, so let's go ahead and bend the left knee. So this is not unlike how we were when we came into this pose when we were laying down. Then maybe walk that left foot off to the side a little bit. You're going to take that strap around the sole of the foot, so that in between place. And then you're going to start to lift that leg up any amount. It might not be very far. Press your shoulder heads back. Are you breathing? So if you want to extend that left leg to straight and try this, I actually think it's probably better to set that right heel down before you go there. So you can play with that. And then let's take both straps into our right hand. Left hand presses down into that left thigh. So that's grounding that thigh into the earth. It's also helping you get a little left lift through the sides of your waist. Start to extend that right leg off to the right any amount. You can see that I started to lean a little bit to the left. So I'm trying to upright myself. You might not be able to go as far in this variation. I certainly can't. Couple more breaths. You can always have a little bend in that right knee. You could even have a little bend in the left knee too, or a block underneath it. If the leg is extended and it's not quite there. Come back to center. And then both straps come to your left hand, and then just reach off to your side. And we're not going to go far at all here. This is going to be more like that intense stretch that we did at the end of this series. Sit tall. So it's this beautiful stretch to the back side of the leg, outer side of the hip. This is a really good stretch for sciatic stuff. And then let's go ahead and exhale. So just crossing the ankles there, sitting tall, and then maybe you start to walk your hands forward any amount. So again, you're getting this stretch through the out seam of the right thigh. Oh, hurts so good. I think you could always have hands on blocks here too. If you're really tight, you might not even need to forward fold. This is a little easier for you. You just start sneaking forward. Couple more breaths. Good. Start to inhale, walk your hands in. Uncross that ankle. Give the legs a little shake out. We're going to take that to the second side. So let's start with the right knee bent. And you might stay here with that knee bent throughout the whole series. That's absolutely fine. Okay. So strap goes around the sole of the left foot, and then you pull back on the strap as much as you need to. Imagine that you're sitting up against a wall so your spine stays really nice and long. And then inhale. You start to lift that leg, and you can make any little adjustments that you need to here. If you would like to extend your left leg, or right leg rather, to straight, so pretend that you're standing on it and then lift. I'm going to come back to this variation on this side. Both straps come to that left hand. You're just gently pressing into that right thigh with your right hand. Start to open up. How is this side different than the other side? Are you breathing? What's going on in the head? So especially when we come into these really challenging, these held poses, these static poses, these big stretchy poses, the chatter kicks up. Our discomfort kicks up. It's hard to be in that. It's okay to be in that though. We use our breath to help us stay there. Maybe you smile a little bit. It is only yoga after all. Good. Come back to center. And then both straps in that left or right hand. So if that right leg is extended too straight, you're kind of taking that left leg, crossing it over. And you can certainly do this with the knee bent still. If your knee is bent, which I didn't say on the other side, so if it was, you figured it out without me, extend that leg to straight. And then cross left ankle over your right thigh, sit tall here. And then maybe you just stay like this. Maybe hands are on blocks by your side. Maybe you start to walk forward any amount. It might be the tiniest amount. How is this side different in your body? Are you gripping in places that you don't need to? Can you soften in those spots? Good. Inhale, start to walk your hands back to center. Uncross that ankle. And before we come to our Shavasana, let's just take one nice forward fold, Paschimottanasana. So as you inhale, arms reach up. As you exhale, you hinge forward, fold in. Strap around the feet is really nice. If you're a little more flexible, you can put the block at the bottoms of your feet so it helps them to articulate. And then you can grab the block. This is also a good variation if you have incredibly unwieldy long arms, like yours truly. According to, what is that, 23andMe, I possess a lot of Neanderthal blood compared to the general population. So take that for what it's worth. Your yoga teacher is an ape. We'll blame the Neanderthal for when Janet comes out. All right. So let's go ahead and inhale, come on up. And then you are gonna roll onto your back. You're gonna squeeze your knees into your chest, rock a little bit from side to side. We have worked really hard. We've earned a lovely Shavasana. So whatever that looks like for you, classic, legs extended straight, arms by your side, palms facing up. You just wanna make sure that there aren't any props in your way so that you can feel really nice and relaxed here. You don't get distracted by anything. If this introduces tension into your knees, bolster, blanket, bend the knees. Just give yourself a little support there. You're going to be here a couple minutes. Let yourself go. Give yourself permission to surrender to this moment. All of the work stuff's going to be there. The to-do list is going to be there. Let yourself be here and enjoy this rest. And take a deeper inhale. Sigh the breath out, let it go. Ha. Start to bring some awareness back to your body, bring some movement back to your body. Maybe brush your thumb over your fingertips. Just notice the sensation of that touch, wiggle toes. And staying soft and quiet, roll to one side or the other, finding the fetal position, just hanging out there a moment. And then you're going to use your hands to help you press up to a comfortable seat. Check in. Notice how you feel differently than when you started. Hopefully the Mondays are less Monday. Hopefully you're feeling a sense of space and ease and strength in your body. Perhaps your head is quieted a little bit. You're feeling more focused, a little happy. Place your palms in a pile on top of your heart. Send yourself love and gratitude. Just bow your head with a smile. Beautiful work today. Thank you.